Hey, humans! What would you do if your partner betrayed you for your 19-year-old babysitter? That's exactly where today's story from r/relationship advice user Thrower37 begins.
I've been married to my husband for 8 years now, and for the first time in the 10 years we've been together, I can't stand to see him. This man ruined our marriage and family for some 19-year-old. Divorce is the only option for me, because I don't think I will ever love him again. It all started 1 year ago when we were looking for a babysitter for our 2 sons. I, along with my husband, work full-time. After putting the word out, one of our neighbors informed us that their daughter was interested in the job. Maggie, her fake name, came by for us to interview. She had experience and was able to work around our schedule. At the time, it seemed like a win-win situation. We found someone responsible, and Maggie found a job that could help her out. I never once felt insecure about Maggie's looks or worried about my husband being attracted to her. Maggie did a great job taking care of our sons. We were both happy with her. Around last July, I started to get suspicious because of how my husband and Maggie would talk with each other. I came home one day to find my husband making Maggie laugh uncontrollably. I tried to forget about it because I felt like I was becoming jealous of this younger woman. It stayed in the back of my head after that. The second sign was when I was changing the sheets in our guest bedroom. I found strands of blonde hair. No one in my family has blonde hair. I'm a brunette. The last guests we had over were my in-laws, who don't have blonde hair either. The only person who's been in my house recently with blonde hair is Maggie.
Isn't it funny how humans have this incredible intuition, spotting the tiniest details like a strand of hair and an overdone laugh? But intuition without action? That's where things start to unravel.
That's not a big deal though, because maybe she laid down after getting tired or something. Then there was the whole car fiasco. My husband, out of nowhere, asks my opinion about buying Maggie a new car for her birthday. This took me by surprise because it's not like Maggie doesn't have a car. Also, I don't think we're in the situation to be giving away cars as gifts. Husband's argument was that her car was old, and if she took our boys out, it would be safer in a new car. I told him no on the car, and that was final. After the car situation, alarms are going off in my head. At this point, I go from thinking I'm just jealous of Maggie to, there's something going on here. Now Maggie is coming to work in skirts with heels on. She went from sweatpants and not wearing makeup to now having makeup on and her hair done. Then I notice her toes are painted black. My husband has a thing for feet. I've known this for our entire relationship. His favorite color on my toes is black. Now I have this 19-year-old coming to work in high heels with her toes done in my husband's favorite color. At this point, I'm 99% sure something is going on. I get a hold of his phone. I'm looking in the messages for Maggie. Maggie is in a group chat with us. All contact and scheduling is supposed to be done in that group chat with all 3 of us in it. I find Maggie being texted by my husband separately on his phone. The messages obviously had been deleted by him since the last message was from earlier today, a bunch of laughing emojis from her. I did some research and realized I could recover messages that had been deleted. What I uncovered was probably all of the evidence I needed. It's him basically telling Maggie about how our marriage is basically over. They talk about spending the rest of their lives together. How she can move in as soon as I move out. She makes a statement. Your sons won't even miss her when they have me as their mom. That one really hurt me because of the audacity of this woman to talk about my sons like that. Also, I found Snapchat on my husband's phone, which he's never had before. I have a copy of the conversations on my phone. I also have them on video kissing in our backyard. They must have forgotten the security camera was there. Now that I have all of this evidence, I'm not sure how to approach it. Do I talk to a divorce attorney before I confront my husband? Do I confront my husband at all about this? Because I would like an explanation about why he thought it was a good idea to throw away our marriage for some 19-year-old wanting to play housewife. Also, do I make any financial moves before blowing this up? As of right now, I've been pretending like everything's okay. I don't think he suspects anything. I'm too embarrassed to talk to my friends and family about this. I feel like I'm still in shock over all this. It just all feels like a terrible dream that I'll eventually wake up from.
And there you have it. A story of betrayal wrapped in subtle clues and undeniable proof. Remember, humans. The Bible verse James 1:5 says, "If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." Up next, another spouse with some identity confusion, written by Annual Peanut 9643. It's sure to spark some reflection.
I'm 40 years old and married my 50-year-old husband 10 months ago. A few months ago, I noticed that my husband's behavior started to change. He started carrying his phone with him everywhere, which was not something he used to do before. He always flips his phone so I can't see the screen. He even turned off his notifications so they wouldn't appear on his home screen when somebody sends him a message. At first, I thought he was probably tired from always responding to work messages late at night. I became very suspicious when he began calling me another woman's name. The first time, I let it slide, but the fourth time, I got really upset. I asked him who this woman was, and he said that he had a bad habit of mixing up other people's names. He wouldn't answer me when I asked him who the woman was. He kept saying he didn't know. Plus, he never calls me throughout the day to check on me, and I am always the one calling him and asking how he's doing. He tells me he's coming home and then arrives 2 hours later. I sat him down and told him wholeheartedly how I was feeling and that I was suspicious that something was going on. He said that I was being delusional and creating false realities in my head. He then left to go play cards with his friends for 4 hours. The next week, I tried again. I sat him down, told him I felt uncomfortable with some things, and asked if something was happening with this woman. He said he had no idea what I was talking about, and said he was done with the conversation and left again to hang out with his friends.
Now, let's pause for a moment, shall we? Humans, this is a tale of suspicion, miscommunication, and unanswered questions. Trust is such a fragile thing. You protect it, you nurture it, but when cracks appear, it's hard to know if it's worth mending. Let's see how this ends up.
Last time, we were coming back from a family dinner in the car. I explained how I felt and wanted to work out some tension between us. I asked who this woman was. I asked how long he'd known her for, if she was an ex, if he'd ever been to her home, if she had any kids, etc. He said he didn't know anything about her and only knew her for a year. He started yelling at me in the car, pulled over to the side of the road and told me to get out. When I refused to leave, he exited the car and walked home. I came home feeling very frustrated. That night, I searched his phone and found this woman's name in his contacts. They do talk once or twice a week. She is his co-manager, and they got to know each other at one point a few years ago. In the messages from 2021, he was asking her about her daughter, if she wanted to go out for dinner, etc. Last week, he went to her house to drop off some items. I was furious when I read this. The following day, I showed him the text messages, and he said that he had gone to her house once, but just for work-related purposes. He lied about everything he told me the day before. Last night, I decided to go through his phone again. He deleted her number and the messages between them. But he still takes his phone everywhere, and if I sit next to him, he'll move it to the other side. What does this mean? If he's not cheating, I don't understand why he wouldn't just say it.
Well, humans are curious creatures, and trust can be such a fragile thing. Proverbs 3 verse 3 says, "Let love and faithfulness never leave you." Perhaps both could find wisdom in leaning into this truth. Maybe this next story found one. Penned by Radiant Cat 3980, the story dives into another whirlwind tale, a mysterious work dinner and a perplexing vanishing act. The drama is just getting started.
My husband of 6 years works in a field where sales reps are constantly vying to get him to use their products. One of the ways they do this is by putting on dinners at upscale restaurants and inviting groups to come listen to a presentation about the product in exchange for a free steak dinner. So far this year, my husband has attended upwards of 40 of these dinners. I find this a little excessive, especially considering we have a 3-year-old and a 5-month-old at home, and I rarely get a reciprocal night out. For context, we've been out together without the kids 4 times in the past year.
Oh, the allure of free steak. But it seems our storyteller might trade all the filet mignon in the world for a quiet dinner with her husband. Let's not even get into the baby's nighttime opera. There's no Michelin star for that.
I have asked him to cut back on these dinners, but he refuses, saying he hopes to leverage these relationships into brand-sponsored speaking opportunities that could become a temporary source of secondary income. To his credit, this has happened before, and he made some good money before his stint as a speaker ended. Anytime I complain about the number of dinners he attends, he accuses me of not caring about our financial situation, or even outright trying to sabotage it. It is my understanding that he attends far more of these dinners than most people in his field. Okay, on to the dinner in question. Last week, he forwarded me a screenshot of a text from a sales rep who said she would be in town for 2 nights and wanted to have dinner with just him while she was there. This is fairly unusual, as most dinners are group affairs with friends and colleagues. On one other occasion, he has met with a sales rep one-on-one, but it was an older man. On this occasion, it was an attractive woman around our age. I looked her up on the socials. They agreed to meet on Monday at 6:30 at a nice tapas restaurant in an expensive part of town because, according to my husband, it was close to her hotel. Made sense, though I raised an eyebrow at his phrasing. He got annoyed, but I pointed out that it was a dumb thing to say to your wife when you're meeting a woman for dinner at a nice restaurant. He left the house at 6:04. For context, I am extremely sleep-deprived. I'm up with the new baby several times a night, and my husband has refused to participate in night feedings. So, by 9 o'clock I was tired and really wanted to sleep, but the baby was colicky and crying, and it was keeping my toddler awake. I texted my husband to find out when he thought he'd be home, so I could have a sense of how long it'd be before I could sleep. In the text, I said it was no big deal, just give me a ballpark idea of when you'll be home. He didn't respond. He wears an Apple Watch and is constantly responding to texts on his phone, so it was annoying to me that he couldn't give me an estimated time of arrival after 3 hours at dinner. I called him at 9:15 and he sent me straight to voicemail. I called again at 9:30 with the same result. At this point, I texted and told him I was calling the restaurant. When I did, the host told me there was no one in the restaurant, and he could confidently say that no one matching my husband's description had been into the restaurant at all that night. I texted that I was calling his parents to see if they had heard from him. They hadn't. Finally, at almost 10 o'clock, I texted and told him not to come home. 15 minutes after my last text, he sent me an automated text from his GPS app telling me he'd be home by 10:20 p.m. I texted again and told him to go to his parents' house. He showed up anyway and I wouldn't let him in. He didn't have keys. He said I was acting crazy. He said the tapas restaurant was more like a sports bar, so they went to a nicer place across the street. He said his phone was in his pocket silent, except he had to have declined the calls in order to send me straight to voicemail. He said he was trying to generate revenue for our family. He said my self-esteem was not his problem. He said my behavior had better be a symptom of premenstrual dysphoric disorder. He said I was creating events in my mind. Long story short, I didn't let him in. He slept with his parents and came over to the house in the morning to get his stuff. He's there again tonight, after going to yet another dinner, and likely will be for the foreseeable future. I think his behavior was shady and disrespectful to me, but he thinks I've blown the whole thing out of proportion. I'm so tired that I can't make sense of it, and I need to ask Reddit if I'm justified in my anger, or if he's right and I'm blowing this out of proportion.
The comment section sparked plenty of responses. One Siam shared,
The best case scenario here is your husband just doesn't care about you or your family. That's best case scenario. Worst is what's more likely, that he's cheating. I'm a doctor and have been to these dinners. Your husband is the big fish here, not the rep. They're trying to impress him, not the other way around. There's absolutely no reason he can't step away and take your calls or end it early. And most importantly, no reason he can't say no to dinners in favor of being a father and husband. Also, on what planet does this 35-year-old rep hold the keys to him becoming a lucrative speaker? Tell him if he's so concerned about financials, he should consider the cost of a divorce, alimony, and child support.
The dim side also replied,
Yeah, husband refuses to help with new baby, leaving wife sleep-deprived and miserable. He doesn't care. He goes out to many dinners, not giving her the chance for a night to herself. He doesn't care. She's upset by his lack of communication for hours, not even bothering to update her. What about an emergency? Why would he not update her on his location, or check in on her with a new baby? He just doesn't care. Even if he really is genuinely trying to make more money for the family, the priorities are so skewed because he's losing so much time and effort for his family for the hope that he makes more money for his family in the future. Sometimes it's not about the money. In my case, most of the time, it's about actually being there emotionally and physically for your family. To me, it doesn't matter if he's cheating or not. He's a bad husband and father and needs to make adjustments if original poster should even consider maintaining this relationship. But if he doesn't change his attitude, then there's no hope.
Marriage isn't just a piece of paper or a convenient arrangement. It's a promise, a partnership, and a reflection of mutual respect. A true man wouldn't leave his wife questioning her worth or her place in his heart. Not all men treat their commitments like this. There are those who honour their word even when it's hard. Up next, we'll hear from Expensive Mammoth 8084, who's questioning whether love can survive when the foundation is already cracked. Let's hear what she has to say.
I'm 25 years old. I think my 27-year-old husband and our relationship are all a lie, and I believe he's obsessed with someone else. I met him 3 years ago. At the time, I knew he had a fling with a woman shortly before we met, but he said he had cut things off. That was it. I didn't really know the details. This didn't bother me because our relationship progressed really quickly, and I thought he was over it. We had a lot of chemistry and jumped into a relationship pretty quickly. We moved in together, and about a year later, I got pregnant. Things weren't always perfect. We would fight and not speak for a bit, but we always made up quickly. Fast forward to me getting pregnant. We ended up getting married while I was pregnant, and everything seemed great. There were some issues here and there, but nothing I thought we couldn't work through. About 2 years into our marriage, now, he brought up the idea of opening up our marriage. I didn't want to do it, but I said okay, I would give it a try, as long as there were boundaries, no emotional connections with anyone else, and our family had to remain the main priority.
Isn't it curious, humans? You set boundaries, but sometimes those you love are determined to cross them. It's like building sandcastles too close to the tide. You hope they hold, but deep down, you know they might not. Let's get back to the story.
If things started to get tense at home, we agreed to close it off immediately and work on our relationship. Well, about a week after that conversation, apparently, he reached out to the woman who he had a fling with before we started dating, and they hooked up. Apparently, she was in a relationship, so her partner found out and reached out to my husband, threatening him. My husband then cut things off with her. I was really hurt by this because I didn't think he would go back to a woman with whom he clearly had feelings for in the past. However, he told me it was just for sex, and he didn't have feelings for her in that way, that they just had sexual chemistry. Months went by, and that woman texted him once in between, but my husband shut it down because he didn't want drama in his life with her partner. However, I went through his phone about 2 weeks ago, and I found that she had reached out to him again. He responded by saying, "I miss you so much, it kills me not to talk to you, but I can't if you're in a relationship." To which she responded that she missed him too, and they had broken up. They were then planning to meet up. I got frustrated and reached out to the woman, telling her to stop contacting my husband. She didn't respond, and my husband confronted me, saying our relationship was open and that he could talk to whoever he wanted. Well, I guess they met up twice. I went through his phone again and saw that they had been messaging each other every day, being very affectionate. My husband was making comments about how she never chose him, how that hurt him, and how his feelings for her never went away. I was really confused because, as far as I knew, he had cut things off with her, and he didn't have feelings for her in that way. I confronted him and demanded answers. He told me the truth was that he was in love with her, but she was cheating on her partner with him, so that's why he cut her off. I reached out to her because I wanted to know everything, and she told me that she had known him for about 6 years, that she cheated on her partner with him, and that she wasn't aware he was married until I contacted her. She told me that he still reached out to her like twice a year for the past 3 years, asking if she was still with her partner. This really hurt me because now I feel like our entire relationship was built on a lie, that I was just a rebound. It's okay if he was heartbroken when we met, but it seems like he's still not over her. So why did he even bother starting this life with me? I don't know what to do. He assures me that after the last time they met up, he realized it wasn't worth pursuing, and he felt guilty. So he cut things off with her now. But he doesn't know I saw the text he sent her where he told her he needed space because he's still not over the fact that she chose someone else over him. I don't know what to do. I love him so much and can't imagine spending my life with anyone else.
The comment section is at it again. State Large commented,
I'm so sorry you are going through this. He lied and used you as a way of getting over his ex. Then when he thought she might be an option again, he gaslights you into opening the relationship. You didn't say if you also slept with anyone else, but that your boundaries were no emotional connections. Now you know he lied and manipulated you so that he could continue his pursuit of the woman he really wants to be with. You know what you need to do. You will be better off without him.
One commenter provided a well-thought-out plan for taking the next steps. Here's what Airy Puzzle-Headed 675 has to say.
Just divorce your husband. The open marriage is a license for him to cheat. Accept and contact a divorce lawyer and get a therapist to work through the betrayal. As much as you love him, he never reciprocated the feelings. You were a rebound person. Sorry that is harsh, but you need a healthy dose of frank reality. He continues to lie to you and honey talk to her. Do what is right for your child and yourself by leaving. The only respect and love you are going to receive is if you give it to yourself. It will be painful, but as a parent tells a child, it is often better to rip the Band-Aid off quickly. That is how you need to be about your emotions with him. If you can't afford to leave immediately, then covertly get your exit plan in place. Then serve him the divorce papers as soon as you are independent.
Teaser Zeronami1 added her thoughts, following up with,
He didn't want to open your relationship. He wanted to cheat on you with someone, and he managed to manipulate you into agreeing. He didn't disclose that he had someone in particular in mind, and he didn't disclose that it was someone he already knew, and now you know that he is continuing to lie to you by pretending they have no contact, and he shut it down, when in reality he's probably just deciding how to proceed, or how to be careful because you have a child, or playing hard to get. He considers himself single in regards to this person. He has permission to sleep with her. You shut that down now, as per your original agreement. Remember that you don't need a reason. The agreement was, if things started to get tense at home, we agreed to close it off immediately. You're feeling tension, that's enough. But he won't agree to that. It doesn't matter how much you love him because you can't stay with him. He will never be the person you want. He's obsessed, in love with this person. Also, he convinced you to open the relationship when you were clearly not on board. That's not how it's supposed to happen. It never works out anyway, but you're definitely not supposed to pressure someone into it. He has cared, at every turn, more about himself and his feelings, wants, needs than yours. I personally would never want to be in a relationship where I have to wonder if I'm the most important person in my partner's life. If this were me, I'd have an appointment with an attorney already. You deserve better than this.
Humans, the stories on r/relationship advice show us just how messy love can be, but they also remind us that true, lasting, and loving marriages are possible. When built on a foundation of mutual respect, commitment, and faith in God, marriage can be a beautiful reflection of grace and unity. So, keep sharing, keep learning, and remember, you're never alone in this journey. If these stories made you think, laugh, or reflect, hit that subscribe button and share your thoughts in the comments. Let's navigate this wild, beautiful thing called love together.